This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
And welcome everybody to a special episode of the Animanicast.
Hey, Gad, this is Pinky, and you're listening to Animanicast. You know why? Because you're going to take over the world.
Narf.
And welcome once again to the Animanicast. We are the only podcast out there that's dedicated to the animated television series Animaniacs. And today we have an episode that is different than the other ones and very special indeed because this is going to be our coverage of Animaniacs Live visiting Tucson. And not only that, but also Randy Rogel's panel from Tucson Comic Con. This was a fantastic opportunity, and boy, oh boy, it was just a great time. And boy, I wish, the only thing I really wish that somebody could have been there was my little brother Nathan, but and unfortunately, he's all the way in Los Angeles, of course. And
wait, what?
What?
Are you talking about me, Joey?
Oh, Nathan!
Hey!
What are you doing here in the room that I'm sitting in?
Yeah, this is weird. We're not like talking over each other, and it doesn't sound like I'm in a can.
Yeah, exactly. You're not on Skype anymore. Oh, there he is. That's more like I'm used to that now. Yeah, but no. Nathan's here in Tucson for just the night because I heard. I was just driving around and talking to my dad and your dad too, you know. Our dad.
Weird.
Yeah, it's weird how that works. But he said, "Oh, Nathan's here." And I said, "What?" So I had to come over here and do the intro. You're a week late, Nathan. I'm sorry. You missed Animaniacs Live.
I thought it was tonight.
No, you missed it. It was last week. You're terrible.
Well, what happened?
All right, well, that's what we're going to talk about.
Okay. I want to hear.
Okay, so the first thing that happened is on Friday night, was it November 3rd? I drove down there, and one of the first panels of the evening was going to be Animaniacs Live at Tucson Comic Con. And it was supposed to have Randy Rogel and Rob Paulsen there. And I was thinking, wow, this is going to be fantastic. And very surprising because there was like little to no promotion on this. So this was kind of unbelievable. Like, is this really going to happen or not?
Yeah.
So
prank someone.
Yeah, exactly. Some sort of prank. But I figured, well, they probably want to promote the show a little bit before, the night before, just to, get some more tickets sold, stuff like that. So we, I already had my media pass for Tucson Comic Con, so went down there with buddy Jason Hunt from the Wampa's Lair podcast, and we went to the room where I was going to start, and they weren't listed outside of the thing. So I was thinking, well, maybe it's canceled. That's kind of weird. Yeah. So we went down to the information booth, and I said, "Hi, is Animaniacs Live still going on at 5 o'clock in the such and such building?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, is that you?" And I said, No, we're just wondering. "Oh yeah, that's still going on at 5. Oh, okay." So we go back up there, and then on the way over, I believe it was on the way over, we see somebody with an Animaniacs shirt on. So I'm thinking, wow, I'll just hand this young lady our card, right? Well, it turns out that it's Cameron, one of our listeners who was there. Oh. And she was like, "Joey?" And I was like, "Oh, hey, Cameron." Because Cameron's very active on Twitter and stuff. She talks with our account quite often. So it was great to see Cameron. And we made our way over to the Rob Paulsen, Randy Rogel panel. And who is outside, confused? It's Randy Rogel. And he's looking outside the building, too, saying, Is this the room? Am
I supposed to do a thing tonight?
Exactly. and so Jason and I said, yes, this is the room. I just talked to the people. So this is definitely where you're supposed to be. So we went inside, and it ended up being a very nice panel. We got to learn a little bit about Randy Rogel's background in animation, and I won't spoil it right now, but I was surprised. He had a background in a cartoon series that was not Tiny Toon Adventures, and obviously, right before getting into Animaniacs. It wasn't comedy-based.
Okay.
Have a guess?
Is it, was it a drama?
Sort of, maybe, kind of.
Was it a scary thing?
Not really, kind of.
Freddy?
No. No.
I give up. No.
You'll find out in a minute. But it's Fox Kids related. I'll put it that way.
Should we play the clip right now?
Yeah, let's just play the whole thing. So here we go to Randy Rogel's panel from Tucson Comic Con.
This is Randy Rogel, and you are listening to the Animanicast. That's Animaniacs.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Mr. Randy Rogel, the music composer of all these great cartoons, and I'm Frank Powers, I'm your BFF.
Oh, that was that. I didn't see that one over there.
There you go. Let's get up here. Let's have some fun. Let's talk about one of the greatest cartoon shows that's ever been around and is back now, I believe, on Netflix. So it's getting a bit of popularity.
Well, it did very well. First of all, let me say, I'm not one of the cartoon voices. I'm the guy who puts the words in the mouths of the cartoon voices. And also, I was known for writing most of the songs from Animaniacs. And the reason I'm here, as much as I love all of you, is I'm not here for the Tucson Comic Con. I'm here for tomorrow night is Animaniacs in concert at the Rialto Theater. And Rob Paulsen, who plays Yakko, how many of you know of Two Little Mice who tried to take over the world? He's Pinky, he's Dr. Scratch and Sniff, he's also two of the Ninja Turtles, he's Jimmy Neutron, Carl. He and I have been doing this show. He's being one of the Turtles right now and recording, and then he's flying here this evening. We're going to do the show tomorrow night, so we want to invite you to come see the show. It's a really fun show, and it's the music and a lot of the stories, and also the voices and the animation of Animaniacs. And we have the permission of Warner Brothers licensing, Steven Spielberg. The show, we've done this show now in Chicago, in New York, in Atlanta, in Denver, Minneapolis, Honolulu, Los Angeles. The show is really on its way, and we're really happy to be bringing the show to Tucson. You're going to really love it. So I would say go to www.rialtotheater.com, and under that coupon code, is it Tucson Comic Con?
I believe it's just Comic-Con.
Comic-Con, and you get your nice big discount, 20% discount, whatever, and come see the show tomorrow night. Tell your friends, because it's really a fun, if you like to laugh, if you like animation, vibrant, wonderful animation, and if you like really terrific, fun songs, this is the show for you. So
yeah. Heck yeah, so that's tomorrow night. My name's Frank Powers. This again, let's hear, I didn't do it on a microphone. Let's hear it for this man that's so speaking, he's so talented. It's Mr. Randy Rogel. That's how you do it. That's how you start a show. So, also, again, my name's Frank Powers. I'm running the comic book mobile booth down there. It's booth 1120. And yeah, we'll be giving away Animaniacs tickets tomorrow all day. Basically, everything you buy, you get raffle tickets all day, every hour, so you'll be able to go see them. And also use that Comic-Con code, Comic-Con, and just save 20%. And I believe tickets start as low as $29. So that's a fun night out. Perfect way to end your Saturday at Comic-Con. Go there. It ends, our thing, Comic-Con ends at 7. That show starts at 7. So it's literally perfect. All right, that's how you want to spend that day tomorrow. Heck yeah. So what we want to talk about now is, again, I think the best place to start is to start with the music. Why don't we talk about some of the music?
Well, we'll make sure we take any questions or comments that the audience wants to give. But Animaniacs was a rare show from, at least from that era, because we had a full orchestra. And now, Steven Spielberg commands a lot of resources because of who he is, but in those days, we had the Warner Brothers Orchestra. So it would be quite a thing that, once the process is the cartoon gets written, or I would write a song, and I would just write it on the piano in my office over at the studio, we would bring in the actors, they'd lay down a little vocal track to it, and then that's where the storyboard artist used to storyboard it out, because he's hearing the performance. Goes overseas, it gets animated, and comes back. Then we all go into a sound stage, which is even bigger than this whole room, and they put it up on the cartoon up on the big screen. And our brilliant music director for all of those Warner Brothers animation shows at that time was Richard Stein. For Pinky the Brain, for Animaniacs, for Hysteria. I think he also did some work on Tiny Toons as well.
I would imagine.
Yeah, Richard gone now, but he was basically Carl Stallman reincarnated, and they wanted to bring back the feeling of those old, beautiful Carl. You've seen, the Roadrunner cartoons, the old Bugs Bunny, how rich and fully orchestrated these were. So we would go in and this orchestra would come in. These guys are the best in the bit. They play all the movies, you know, where do I sit, you know? They would sit down and these guys can read notes on a page faster than you can read words. Or most of you can read words, I mean, faster than I can read words. And in those days also, we didn't have a lot of that digital notation programs, and we didn't have Pro Tools and all that. So we used to say that the music was born at the podium, because the conductor would get up there, he would drop that baton, and that's the first time any of us heard the music. Now you can mock it up and kind of get a feel for it. So we would sit there, and you know, animation has a lot of hits in it. The music goes, the orchestra, I mean, the woodwinds and the string sections, the percussions. It's really quite a thing to watch. I remember I was sitting there, because they would always have me come over when they were doing the songs. And I'd be singing with Rich, you know, and he'd stop and he'd go, no. He said, woodwinds, that's a B natural. And I was going, how the hell did you hear that? You know, the guys were really brilliant, but it was quite a thing to see a whole orchestra play, and they're playing it live to the picture. And you know, they'd be scoring to the picture too. So you may not even notice this, but like, we do a lot of songs along animation tomorrow, and there's one in Yako's Universe where they're coming in and going, da, 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 and he jumps off the light in the snow, and he shakes it, and as he's running, he goes, bing, 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 bing. You know, all those little hits get put into there in real detail. So it's really quite a thing to watch. In fact, we do the show also in another incarnations with a symphony orchestra. That's a much bigger show. And we've done it with the Colorado Symphony already and the La Mirada Symphony. And then we have the whole symphonies come in, and these people are used to playing Mahler, something like that. And when they sit down playing all this cartoon music, they just go crazy because it's pretty challenging for them. So it's a fun evening.
Heck yeah. I'm not going to say, if there's one thing that's very, very true, it's very, very true about Looney Tunes, Warner Brothers specifically, it is that orchestra. It is that thing. There are cartoons that come out, I think that's what they're missing. They're missing the music, and that's always been that thing that makes those Warner Brothers cartoons special. And I really do come back to the Animaniacs. I mean, how many Animaniacs cartoons, again, I always think of Mindy and all that, they were musicals. Yeah, they did so many musicals, so many musical parodies, all that stuff. How come and why do you think, or why was that like one of the main things to go? Is like, we're really gonna you know, talk about musical culture, make fun parodies of that, and really use that orchestra. It was an amazing throwback that was immediately noticed. Because again, the Animaniacs, they were Looney Tunes. They just got locked away in that water tower because they were too loony. And that's the thing. So it matched up the time. It just was it was so fun to, again, at the time that I was growing up, I was just sitting there, it was like, you know, 11, 12. It was perfect. It was just this whole thing that, like, we were ready for, because Looney Tunes had a huge comeback. And was doing really well. Space Jam was coming out, all that stuff. So now Animaniacs is the resurgence after Tiny Toons. It was amazing. It was original as well. It was one of the most original cartoons that I think we've ever seen. And that's what's been amazing about it. So why do you think the music was one of the driving forces behind that?
Well, it's a really excellent question. And see, Animaniacs, which for those you saw, was what we call a magazine show. And so it's like, remember Rocky and Bullwinkle, where you would have a cartoon, the main cartoon with Rocky and Bullwinkle, then you'd have Fractured Fairy Tales, then you'd have the one with Aesop's Fable, you know. So Animaniacs had that, and some of them really emerged because the Warner Brothers and Warner Sister, as Scott was saying, were the lead characters. But then we would break away, you know, after a commercial, we'd come back and you'd hear, we had two mice completely unrelated trying to take the world. Or we had Mindy and Buttons, as you said. And Mindy was played by Nancy Cartwright, and Nancy is, of course, Barbara Simpson. We had Rita and Raj, which was another little musical cartoon, and Bernadette Peters was the one who played Rita. They were Homestar and Cat. But to answer your question of how did the music emerge, I think they always thought it would be a fully scored musical, but I had begun writing songs when I got to get on staff. I was writing Batman, the animated series, for any of you know that. Yes! So I was writing Batman, and then working for Alan Burnett, and that and Bruce Timm, they're announcing that group, and they were doing Tiny Toons at the time, you know, the Spielberg guys across the hall, and they were developing a show called Animaniacs, and I said, well, I should write on that show. And they said, no, you write that dark shit, that dark stuff, and Animaniacs is a comedy, you know. And I said, well, no, comedy is me. So then I wrote that song with all the countries, if you've heard it, he sings all the countries. And so Tom liked that, he sent it to Stephen, he liked that, so they had me do another one. So gradually, I mean, I was writing scripts too, but they liked the songs, and the songs emerged enough that we began making that a regular part of the show. And Tom was a pretty good songwriter too. And that's how so the songs began to emerge. Plus then they would do parodies, like you say, of like West Side Pigeons instead of West Side Story. I did a lot of the original songs, or I would take songs that were well known. To do those, I didn't really do any of those. Those were done mostly by Deanne Oliver, but they had to be very careful because you'd get sued. So what they would do is turn a melody on its head. So instead of da-da-da-da-dum, da-da-da-da-da, they go da-da-da-da-da. So that's why they sound a little weird. But
Ice Ice Baby, we all know the story.
That's right, exactly. How many of you learned a lot of classical music from cartoons?
Oh, yeah.
Now, I mean, how many of you have seen the mouse running up the keyboard, or he's inside the piano and he's running as the cat's hitting the key and he's trying to dodge the keys, and it's going and you didn't realize you were learning Franz Liszt from Hungarian Rhapsody. So we did a lot of that. I mean, some of the songs, if I was doing something with a Liszt song, like United States Canada, Mexico, Panama, hey Jamaica, that's the Mexican half dance. But I did some to, I did one with all they were looking at a carton of ice cream. And they were reading the ingredients. And I did the President's Song to the William Tell Overture. And George Washington was the first you see. He was like, coming to you. Anyway, but then most of the songs I tried to make them just original melodies.
Did you do the Parts of the Brain from Beginning of the Rain?
Which one?
Brainstem. I remember that one.
That was Tom Minton. And Tom Minton was actually the model for the brain, because he had this kind of moment. Tom always moments. So Tom Ruger tells that story very well.
No, that's awesome. So again, let's really realize what's going on. It's one thing that, again, Rob's not, you're busy, he's done at Tello right now. Alright, he'll be here tomorrow, flying in tonight, I believe. That's the man that performed that amazing stuff. This is the man who just said, I'm working on Batman. I have to earn my way to get on this show. So he wrote that Yakko song as well. He literally writes Yakko's World like it's like, that's amazing.
Well, you know, the interesting corollary to that story is that I got onto Animaniacs and I began writing lots of scripts, writing lots of songs. And about, I don't know, maybe 10 months goes by, a year, and Batman's doing very well. And Alan Burnett, who ran that show, he came to me and he said, hey, we're behind on Batman scripts. You think you can write a couple of Batman scripts for us? I thought, yeah, it'd be fun. It's been like a year since I was working on Batman. I said, sure. So in the Monday morning meeting with Gene McCurdy, who's the president of Warner Animation, we go around and tell them, if you understand what we're working on. I say, yeah, this month I'm going to be doing a couple of Batman scripts. And she goes, but Batman's dark, and you write that comedy stuff. I was just like, you're only as good as your most recent sale.
That's right.
Gene, I started up there.
That's why all you artists, cartoonists, comic, make sure your portfolio is up to date. Don't be doing stuff you don't want to do just to get paid, because otherwise, that's the stuff you're going to do. You're going to be doing Colgate ads for the rest of your life. You don't want to do that. So that's amazing. That's a heck of a thing. What else was that? So it's surprising because it's fascinating to find out how much you've done, how much writing you've done, as opposed to just also making the music, writing the music. What other Warner Brothers shows have you written for?
Well, when I came on board, I started writing for Batman. I wrote the origin of Two-Face. I wrote the origin of Robin, that won the Emmy.
Yeah, two-parter,
Penguin, Riddler, all of those. Then on Animaniacs and Pinky the Brain and Hysteria, and we developed a lot of other shows there too. That so I was very heavily involved in that. I was at Warner Brothers like 9 or 10 years working on all those shows, and then I went to Disney. And at Disney, I was working on House of Mouse, Tarzan, Mulan. I produced the Winnie the Pooh movies, about 3 of those, and I wrote the music also for the Cinderella and Cinderella 2, or Cinderella 2 and 3. I wrote for all the Mickey, Around the World Mickey Days. I did for them. Most recently, I did a movie. It was about a year and a half now. John Powell is a great composer. He's an A-list composer. We wrote for Kristen Chenoweth for the movie Rio 2.
Oh.
And so, but now I work for a studio called Big Bamboo, and we've got a show called 1001 Nights, which is in its 3rd year. And that's in like 88 countries, so I run that show. Plus we've got 6 other shows going, so that keeps me going. But what the fun part is I get to go do, because Animaniacs is, 25 years old now. But it went back on Netflix and it's done very, very well. So people are talking about it. So Warner's licensed the show, so we get to show up and sing all these fun songs. And what I like to do to also to the audience when they come there and say, well now, do you want to hear a song that Steven Spielberg killed, or that we never got to do, that the censor, or do you want to hear the original lyrics before the censors made me change them? So we actually let the audience hear what some of the original stuff was, stuff that you never even heard, or stuff that got changed, which is really fun.
See, I was going to ask, because I'm sure it's a fun show, kids, for your kids of all ages, all that sort of thing, but Animaniacs used to sometimes slip something in, ain't slipping in, and that doesn't mean to sound filthy either. But they would get something in, especially fingerprints, jokes like that.
Fingerprints was one. I did one, there's one I did on the earthquake. And they're singing about, when the big earthquake hit in '94 in LA. So my little boy types said, why don't you write a funny song about an earthquake? I said, gee, people died, but I wrote it, and this one won an Emmy. But one of the lines of it was, whose fault? Whose fault? It starts like, a quake, the house begins to shake, you're bouncing across the floor and watching all your dishes break. But one of the lines is, whose fault? Whose fault? The San Andreas' fault, because Mr. Richter can't predict her kicking our asphalt. And I thought, they're not going to let me get away with that. But it went right past the censor, and I know the kids would never get that. Also, it's constantly a battle when you're doing these things, because you're fighting the network, you're fighting broadcast standards and practice, the censors, and some of you're just fighting the editors, people who are story editors on the show. But I remember this was a Batman story. I wanted Batman in one scene to come, crashing through a skylight, breaking the glass. And he lands in the dark, he stands up beside the shot, and then, he takes on the guns, and I knew they weren't going to let me go through the glass. They wouldn't let Batman break through the glass. So I wrote it, he comes through the glass showers, he lands, and one of the villains is running up the stairway, and he throws his batarang, and as I wrote, it says it severs the head of the guy, and his head comes bouncing down, and the guy, you can't do that! This is a kid's cartoon. I was going, oh, well, man, he's kind of a monster kid. No way! Oh, all right. And they totally forgot about the glass thing, because they were so tired of that. So sometimes you have to just,
it's the yogi joke.
Bob,
you make them look over here.
Yeah, bob and weave and all that. But Animaniacs was full of little, lewd little sickness.
Yeah, that's fun. That's actually a clever way to do it. It's a clever way to do it. I went to school for cartooning. I learned from Carmine Infantino. Carmine Infantino invented the Flash. And there's one of these things where it's like, you want to get something passing? Draw hair on a girl's arm. And then, what is that? Look. Oh yeah, you're right. And then someone's getting shot in the beam in the plasma. They didn't see that.
That's their cleavage.
Yeah, arm hair on the lady. So it's a clever way to get away with things. That's the yogi joke.
Another one they would illustrate is the show too is the Brain and Pinky used to always have this little gag where he'd go, Pinky, are you pondering what I'm pondering? And Rob will be here tomorrow when you see him. He does all those voices. He's so hysterical. You got to see this guy who does it. Plus, he sings so brilliantly.
Yeah.
But he would do all these, but one of the ones they would, I'm trying to remember some of the ones that Rob does. Brian, what do you think of me and Pippi Longstocking or something like that? But one of the ones we did that they cut was, he goes, are you pondering what I'm pondering? He says, I think so, Brian, but how are we going to get the dwarf to sit still? No, you're not doing that. We're not going to do that.
That's amazing. Let me ask you, how many awards? I don't want to be too long, but how many awards have you won? How many awards? Yeah, how many awards have you been a part of?
I was nominated for 10 Emmys. I won 3 Emmys.
Come on, give it up. That ain't nothing. That would be my dream.
We won the Peabody Award, which is actually most people think it's a more prestigious award.
Yes, it is.
It's like the Pulitzer Prize in radio and television. And then I won 2 Annie Awards, which are like the Emmys and Annie in animation.
Wow.
3 Leo Awards, which are basically the Emmy Awards in Canada. And then I won the Ovation Award. Well, anyway, I'm here to check out my awards. But
Hey, come on, that's the point.
Rob won the Emmy for Best Voice Acting, and Marisa Marsh has won it twice. And the show Animaniacs won quite a few.
Quite a few. It's very, very like famous for that.
But you never do it for the awards. That's just a nice thing. You're just trying to do a good show and crack people up, and that's cool. And that Animaniacs was really firing on all cylinders because we had a lot of freedom in that show. That came with Spielberg. So we were all writing to crack each other up. That's why, you know what's interesting? Is when we do the Animaniacs Live, what we call Animaniacs in Concert, 99% of it are adults. It's really an adult show. I mean, kids can love it because we put on animation like you just saw there too. But it's written to crack. It was written so parents could sit with their kids and everybody was entertained.
Absolutely, it's 100% true. My mom was one of the biggest Animaniacs fans. I want to work at the Warner Brothers Studio Store because of that.
We know John Panel, who scores all the Bourne movies. He scored How to Train Your Dragon. He just look up John Panel. He scores everything. He's a big. He and Danny Elfman, they're big. And when he called me about doing Rio 2, he says, "Yeah, listen, I really love those Animaniacs songs." And he says, "I have a confession to make because I used to watch Animaniacs and I wasn't a kid." And I thought, oh, that's a nice compliment because I watched as an adult.
That's something. I don't know, how many of you have actually seen Talking Tunes as well? Because that's what he's up to now. It's
Rob show. It's Rob show, yeah.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. And that's what tomorrow is going to be like. It's going to be a lot like that.
Absolutely.
He is so funny. I listened to his podcast for a long time before that. So funny. Like, this show is definitely something to see. And getting to Tucson was a big deal. Like, it's something you don't want to miss. Like, not to be chilling a bunch, but like, I'm so excited for what tomorrow is going to be. I think so.
Yeah, we're excited. You know, we're excited to be here to do it. And when the Comic Con said, "Why don't you drop by?" I know Rob was like, "Oh, damn," because he's in a session right now. Obviously, he's over at the Disneyland. So, but he'll be there tomorrow. And I tell you, never. You know, sometimes you get together with him and Jim Cummings and with Jess Harnell and I'm trying to think of all these terrific voice actors, and they all started doing Christopher Walken. They call it the Walken. And I mean, these guys can do any voice. Oh, Frank Welker is what the name is. But Jack Bennett. I mean, all these fantastic, and they can do any voice. And Tress MacNeille. Oh my God, Tress done what 500 episodes of The Simpsons. She plays Donna. She's also Principal Skinner's mother on The Simpsons. She's the cat lady. On Future, you guys watch Futurama? She's mom. She's Maurice LaMarche plays Laura from the Omicron percent, and she's his wife. You know, and she did well those roles. And those people are all so fast on their feet. They all come from improv, like Saturday Night Live.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because again, that's the thing about it's not voiceover. It's voice acting. It takes a lot of effort. That's
what we're saying.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll just start riffing in the booth, and I'm going, "Gee, they're doing better than what we wrote."
Yeah, that's always one of my favorite things to see. Whenever you get any type of behind the scenes, DVD, anything like that, watch them all talk about it. It's great. Actually, now I have one question. Now I want to turn some questions over to you guys. But it's just about let me ask you this. One credit I've always noticed growing up on all these shows, besides the phony credit, you notice Tiny Toons and Animaniacs have the phony credit. Voice director, Andrea Romano.
Yes, Andrea.
She has got to be one of the most important people that have ever walked through Warner Brothers because her name has been behind everything, even up until the most recent voices for like the Batman movies and because they got Adam West to do some of those now, and it's great. But I've always, and I saw a documentary about her, or she was on The Nerdist, and she grew up in Long Island, where I'm from. So I was like, oh, okay, she grew up in Long Island. Which I found out, she grew up in Long Island. She lived in New York.
I didn't know that. I mean, very good. I know Andrea very well, and I've worked with her many times, and she's the voice director for all of those shows at Warner Animation and others. She just retired, actually. Yeah. But she's, she was running all the shows. She's got, I don't know how many Emmys, but that's, a huge part of the process is the acting and getting, bringing out of the actors. Because, what animation is, obviously, it's artists who are taking that and translating that onto the screen, and all that comes from the performance. What you don't want to do is have an artist, if you can avoid it, is have the artist draw it and then have the actor voice it. because then the actors just having to make it, match what's on the screen. What you do is you bring the actors in and they go crazy. Take Robin Williams when he did the Genie in Aladdin. He was just ripping about crazy, and Eric Gold was like, "This is gold." Then they take what they do and then they sit there with their little headphones on and they're storyboarding and they're able to take all of that and translate it into. But we really do need to give a lot of credit to the artists too, because they're the other big half of this.
Yeah, no, it's wild. It's huge again. So let me ask you something. Who's got some questions for my very, very talented guest here? You, sir, do I need to walk over to you? Do you want to walk up to here? Can you shout? Just shout. Let me see if I can hear you.
Hello?
Hey, I can hear you just fine.
Can you hear you?
Yeah. What's your name?
Hi.
It's Tyler. There you go.
Hi, Tyler.
So, the question actually just came out of my head since you're talking about musical parody and just parodying in general. So I remember one you did, you were parodying Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. There's one, it's like super aquatic.
Yeah.
Was that, I don't know if you had any involvement, was that made as like a jab to Power Rangers?
Yeah, it sure was. I'm pretty sure Paul Rudd did that. His question was, we did, we used to parody a lot of things, and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was one of them. And I think Paul Rudd did it because, and he just, did the way they speak. I am for you tonight to fight the road. And the Animaniacs were doing it. And then, of course, Richard Stone had a field day with the music, just doing all that techno kind of stuff. But yeah, that's exactly what they were doing. It was just, poking fun. And I give credit to Paul Rudd on that.
That used to happen a lot too, to the Ninja Turtles people. How many different versions of Ninja Turtles have we ever heard of? It's because when something's a phenomenon, everything does go get it, especially a lampooning cartoon like that. Who else got something for us? Anybody? Come on.
Hi.
What do you got, sir? I love your shirt, by the way. Look at that shirt.
Thank you. Yeah. Joey from the Animanicast, the only Animaniacs podcast out there. Plug. Anyway.
The Animanicast, you got to check out that podcast.
Yes. So anyway, yes. Question: have you any involvement working with Bernadette Peters with any of the Mindy, not Mindy, but Rita and Run?
Yeah, Rita and Run. Yeah, the question was any involvement with Bernadette Peters. Yes, she used to record. I wrote quite a few songs that she sang, but she used to record out of New York, and I think sometimes Andrea Romano flew back there, or they just had to go into a studio there. But she's a total pro. So she could just come in and nail that. That's what she does. It was really pretty cool to have her on the show. Yeah. And she was a homeless cat.
Yes.
And the dog was played, of course, by Frank Welker, who does all. And he was basically supposed to be Dustin Hoffman's character in Rain Man. And the funny thing about Frank, the most talented guy. If you go, you're not going to believe me, so you got to do this to show that I'm right. There's a thing, I believe it's called Q factor or something like that. In other words, they rate an actor by how much stuff he's been in, how many things he's been in, right? Tom Hanks, Tom Cruise, Meryl Streep, Frank Welker is above all of them. He's the top of the list because he's done every animal voice. He's the voice of Scooby-Doo, and he can't sing. So when I would write songs for him, like I wrote a score for a Scooby-Doo movie, and I had, Frank, so I had the guy, the character was singing with him. Who's the little sidekick to Scooby?
Scrappy-Doo?
No, Shaggy, the human. Shaggy, yeah. And so Shaggy was singing, because he had a good voice, but he goes, it was something like, aloof, I climb up on the roof, things would get tough, and things would get woof. And that's how I would write it. I would make it, because Frank couldn't sing. I would give him those, but amazing talented people. And funny, too.
They are funny. That's the other thing. Did anyone ever see, here's a rare one, Mark Hamill made a movie. It's called Comic Book of the Movie. Did you ever see that movie? Anybody? No, yes. It stars all of the voice actors, but like in person, and you finally get to see them. Because that was also a time when Mark Hamill, when he would do stuff, he'd do it like this. They used to protect it a little more back then, because it was like kind of it's almost a secret society, or definitely like kind of a club, but they would protect the voice acting a bit more. And he wouldn't do the laugh in front of you. Like he would.
Why was he doing that, to hide his face?
To hide his face. I saw it in some old DVDs when they would talk about that behind the scenes in like the 90s.
Mark, I worked with Mark on a couple of shows, just a great guy, and he's doing so marvelously now with the resurgence of the Star Wars movie. But in fact, Rob and I worked together with him on a show called Danger Rangers, and which was a lot about safety, and I wrote a lot of songs for them. And in fact, I wrote all the songs for that show, and Mark sang a lot of them. But Mark, I remember I was writing on Batman, and Tim Curry was the Joker. And I don't know what was happening. I wasn't working out for some reason. Maybe his schedule, or maybe they weren't happy with his performance. But I remember I was in Alan's office, and Alan said, "Hey, listen to this." And he hit the little button on his little tape recorder, and this voice came out of the Joker, and I thought, "Wow, that's really good," because they were going to replace Tim. I said, "Boy, who is that?" He said, "That's Mark Hamill." I said, "Wait a minute, you mean Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill?" He goes, "Yeah, that's Mark Hamill." So Mark really has a voice acting career as well as on camera, and he played the Joker, and Mark's done a hell of a lot of animation voiceover.
Oh yeah,
very well.
He actually, there's a very recent one, I don't know if you saw this, actually probably just came out like a week ago, Justice League Action, and the Joker kidnaps Mark Hamill.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a riot, and then the Trickster shows up.
And
so
the Simpsons did an episode at Comic-Con where Mark Hamill shows up. It's fun to caricature yourself, I guess, to be able to make fun of yourself.
Oh yeah, I mean, how could you not at that point? It's true. It's so good.
He's a really nice guy. I've always liked him. He's just real generous.
You always seem to hear and see that, which is awesome. And so, they say don't meet your heroes, but I meet Luke Skywalker.
Well, that's true. In fact, that Pixar line, he says, "I learned you can't trust anybody, especially not your heroes."
Yeah.
But Mark is one of the rare ones.
Oh, that's awesome. If anyone else has questions, I might just say, there you go, give it up.
My name's Jason, and a lot of the songs on the Animaniacs seem very complicated and elaborate and adventurous at times, and I was wondering if that was something that you brought to the show initially, or if you started to do that after you found out the talent that you had singing.
Well, that's a really good question. His question was, he noticed that the music became more and more sophisticated, and we were doing that because of the talent we had. My background was a lot really kind of in the Broadway style, where the song tells a story. So I wasn't really writing like for Josie and the Pussycats or something like that. The songs really had something to say. And Rob immediately was such a good singer. I went, wow, I started writing them all for. In fact, we do this to the show. So then they said, well, we need some songs for Wacko, I need some songs for Dot. But I did do one where I had a bunch of the kids, they're all in the back of the car fighting. You ever had your kids in the back of the car and they're all having an argument? But that's what was going on for me in real life, and I was getting really pissed. I go, I'm driving a car. And then it occurred to me, this might make a funny song. We do this song, in fact, tomorrow. So it turned into the quintet from West Side Story, where everybody is singing a different melody at the same time in this cacophony. And of course I had the Warner Brothers Orchestra. Those guys can play anything. So it did. We began to take use of that. But generally, I would just write the song for what it was to be, for whatever the song was supposed to be, and make it as good as I was able to. And I was it's like they say, you as a writer, you write the best script you can, you write the best song you can as a composer, but then it goes to the actors and they take it to the next level. I'll tell you, and this has happened in my career a couple times, mostly at Disney, where I would really craft a song, and they would give it to some rising young pop star who they were trying, and they would screw the song up, and I'd almost take it personal. Like, you know how much work I did to write that song, and then you come on and screw it up, we never hear from you again, So as writers and composers, you're pretty protective. And I was really lucky having Tress and Jess and Rob to sing the songs, and Bernadette and others.
That's something. I'll jump in and ask you the basic question. So what's your favorite song you've done from the show?
They asked me to. I had the same question they asked when they said when they asked Steven Spielberg, which one of your movies is your favorite movie? He said, why don't you ask me which one of my kids is my favorite kid? I love them all, and I wouldn't have put them forward if I didn't think they were really terrific songs. But to be more fair to your question, it depends on sort of the venue it's in. I love when Rob sings, the countries of the world. And I assume you mean my songs from Animaniacs. I've written a musical now, and I love the songs from that. But God, I'm really proud of all of them. And when you come to the show tomorrow night, I'd be interested to hear your comments, because for me, and Rob, this is rare for me, what I'm doing right now. It's really a treat. Rob and Tress and Jess and Jim Cummings and Mark Hamill, they make a lot of appearances at these Comic Cons. And so they get in front of the audiences and see them. People like me, I represent composers and writers, and artists and storyboard artists and animators We sit in a studio in our offices. We do our work, but we never really get to see the reaction of the audience to what we do. So when we do the show like we do tomorrow night, and I get to see the audience laughing and applauding, going crazy, that's really a treat for me. And that, you know, I go, oh, they really like that song, or they really like that song. So that makes me go, I'm really proud of that song.
It's funny when something makes you pop like that, like even if you're in that. So that you're a very modest man. Right now, go ahead. Yeah, I want to hear another because I kind of want to keep picking on you.
Okay.
Get me a third chair.
Well, I have to ask. Of course, I'm sure you get this question a lot. Rumors of Animaniacs reboot started up in the spring of this year. General thoughts on that? Would you return if asked?
The question is, there was a leak. It was in the New York Times, I believe, and a Variety magazine, that Animaniacs is being rebooted under the personal supervision of Mr. Spielberg. And he asked, do I know anything about that? Would I come back? And my answer to that is, I can neither confirm nor deny any of those rumors, because I'm not allowed to make any kind of announcement or something like that. That would be the responsibility and the authority of Warner Brothers and specifically Warner Brothers Animation, which is run by Sam Register, by the way, who's like, I don't know if you've ever met Sam Register, but he's like the coolest guy you'll ever meet. He runs all these cartoons, and he's just Mr. Cool. He's a great guy. And then, of course, Steven Spielberg would have to authorize that. So I've heard the rumors that you have and other things, but I can't make any comment other than that.
I won't say anything either.
And Rob would give exactly the same answer I just gave.
I say come tomorrow. I think we can get it out. Let's just pry it out. Let's just do that. So, as far as tomorrow's show is concerned, tell me a little bit more of what they can expect to see, like top to bottom. Why should you go besides like, duh?
That's a really good question. Why should you go to see Animaniacs in concert tomorrow night at the Rialto Theater? The first and easiest answer is because you're going to have a really great time. It's a fun show full of really cool animation, and I would like to say too, what makes it a unique show, because you know, Rob is doing all these shows, I'm running a television show, I've got my production facilities in Vancouver, Canada, I go to New York here, but we do take time to come out and do these performances. And the reason is because it's such a delightful show that resonates with the audience. It's got really terrific animation, and what you're getting from this is the guys who helped create it. Sometimes we'll bring Justin Trust with us too. We're doing the big, the big symphony orchestra one, but it's not like a tribute band. It would be as if you went to see the Looney Tunes, and Carl Stalling was there, and Mel Blanc was there, and Chuck Jones were there. In other words, it's the people who actually physically made the show, not all of them, but sort of the key ones that did it, and they can speak directly to the show and perform it, and also show you what didn't make it or what was changed. And I think you'll find the songs are really, really fun. And then of course, I think between Rob and I, and Rob doing all those funny voices. And then the other thing that we do on top of all of the songs and all of the animation, is we tell the stories. And Rob doing all those voices, God, Rob can just jump back and forth and tell those voices. And there's something kind of cool watching. He likes to say, I'm just this little white middle-aged guy, and I'm the voice of your childhood, But he can just jump. It's something about watching the guy, the character on the screen, and then looking at Rob and seeing that voice come out, like that's the real guy. And Nancy does that to me, Nancy Cartwright. Whenever she breaks the Bart Simpson, I'm like, oh my God, it's Bart Simpson. No, it's not. I ran into Dan Castellana over at the Rogel because we were giving before Sam Simon died, they gave the Rogel Award, he had cancer. And so all the Simpsons guys were there, and they'd break in those voices. It's really something wonderful. Yeah. So those are some things, and then we also tell the stories of the show, and then we also do a Q&A. We always build that in.
Oh God,
the Q&A is a big. The audience usually, and everybody stays for that. We do a lot of Q&A, and then afterwards, we do meet. We'll go out and meet with people. We sign things. We'll sign stuff, take pictures with everybody. So it's just your chance to meet, some of the cast members and a guy behind the scenes. The people who help make the show. But I honestly say, I've done a lot of theater. I've done a lot of shows, and sometimes you get what's called lightning in a bottle. And that's what Animaniacs Live Animaniacs Concert is. It's I'm really proud. It's a real generous show, and I'm just proud to, because I don't need to do it. I don't want to do something that I didn't think is really terrific. And this one, we've done, 12, 13 cities already. From here we're going to Florida, we're going back to New York, doing California next. The show's really caught on, so I can't say enough. If you're in the mind to go, I promise you will certainly enjoy yourself and get your money's worth.
Yeah, I believe it. And we were talking about Luke Skywalker before, or Mark Hamill, and how nice he is and all that stuff, just a nice guy. If there's one guy that just seems like the nicest man, it's Rob. Oh man.
Rob was the nicest guy in the show business, boy. I'd say he is really one good guy. And Rob just went through too. He's kind of an inspirational guy. Because Rob does a lot of community work too. And then Rob, about a year and a half ago, called me and says, Randy, I got cancer. And he just told his head about it. I said, you got to do your treatment. And he had it in his throat, of all things. It wasn't his vocal cord, his throat. But he just went into it, did the treatment, did everything. And it really, the doctor who met with him, Rob likes to tell the story, because he can do those voices. He's a Russian guy, so Mr. Paulsen, the good news is we can completely cure you of this. The bad news is though we're going to have to almost kill you to do it. And they did, because he took that radiation chemo. So he lost a lot of weight, but he's putting it back on now. So Rob, he looks terrific, he's completely cancer-free, he's back doing all the stuff that he did. Wow. But he's now able to talk to other kids. He goes to kids who are cancer survivors. He's just this very inspirational speaker of how to overcome obstacles, to live your life with joy and a sense of humor and fun. And he's also quite an athlete. He was a hockey player too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's from Detroit.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Detroit. But a remarkable town, just a remarkable town. And a remarkable human being. Because I'm not doing any work in the business workaholic. There are people who are real talented, but boy, are they tough to get along with. They're really jerks, And then there's some people who are the real thing. Rob is one of them.
That's something to hear. That's great. That's phenomenal. I'm so excited. Are you excited for tomorrow? I'm excited for tomorrow. Let me tell you, I can't wait.
If you go to www.Rialto Theater, put in Comic Con, and you'll get your discount.
Yep, all one word, no spaces, nothing like that. Any other questions from the crowd? Because I think we got maybe only a couple minutes.
Good-looking crowd.
And you smell so good.
I'm sorry they didn't put our name up on the banner. How did you? Because we came here, we thought, are we on? We just didn't say we're on. Maybe we're the wrong one. But how did you guys know? I know you said you saw that. How did you know that I was going to be here? That the Animaniacs Panel was taking place? On your Facebook page.
I do like to promote.
This is an authentic proof that you do have a following. What? On the website.
They got a website. Promote it on Facebook and all that.
Because I'm happy with the crowd. We did this in Honolulu, Atlanta, and the entire room was filled. And also, we did some of the songs because we weren't doing the show tonight.
Right. Yeah, I think it was just a little bit of a late edition, and also 2 songs. No, I think it was just a little bit of a late edition because of the printing. That's how this place works. That's okay. Because I didn't see the announcement for it even myself up until, and I've been waiting since May, up until only a few days ago. So it's just been some of that. That's just what it is.
Well, tell your friends if they like it. We'd love to have them come see the show.
Yeah.
And we'd love to meet you all after the show. We'll come up too if you want to talk to Robert and me.
Yeah, it'll be something to see. Please come on down to that. That's going to be great. Again, I'll be giving out tickets for it all day tomorrow, so that'll be phenomenal. So go down, visit me, booth 1120.
You have a question back here, sir?
More questions? Go ahead.
And that would be Ron Knight, our promoter.
I'm no mathematician, but that sounds aces to me. So that's the way to do that. Let's give it up for our main man, our writer.
We're out of time. Thank you very much.
There you go.
Hope to see you tomorrow night. Okay.
Phenomenal.
And it was Batman the Animated Series.
Ah.
So there you go. So Randy Rogel was involved with Batman the Animated.
Batman.
Yeah, there you go.
I love Batman.
Yeah, Batman. So it was a nice panel. He said that he'll be on the show someday too. So
Ooh, okay.
Hopefully,
this Sunday?
No, not this Sunday. Well, not anytime soon that I'm aware of.
Oh, someday.
Someday. You know how I talk.
I get so excited.
No, not Sunday. Someday. So Randy Rogel was awesome. So the next day was a very, very busy day because not only was Saturday one of the bigger days of Tucson Comic Con, but I hosted a panel with Jason and our buddy Kyle, and we hosted it on Star Wars. We didn't host it on Animaniacs. We hosted it on Star Wars. We talked all about The Last Jedi and stuff like that.
Did you mention our podcast?
Oh, you bet I did.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
That's
which is very confusing for people to be seeing a Star Wars.
Star Wars.
You'll
also like.
Yeah, exactly. You love Animaniacs, right, people? Cricket. Oh, darn. No, everyone loves Animaniacs. That's right. So anyway, right after our panel, and I do mean right after our panel, because our panel ended at 5:20. We basically packed up our stuff and started heading down, about a mile away to the Rialto Theater for Animaniacs Live. And I had purchased these tickets, back in April or March or something of this year when they were originally scheduled to be coming to Tucson in May. And of course that got postponed for, I don't know really the reason, but it got postponed to November. Luckily it still worked out for me. Unfortunately it still didn't work out for Nathan, but whatever. So it was me, my friend Jason, and my wife Jackie was able to be there as well. So we were all able to be in the front row right there, front row center. So here's just a small sampling of some of the songs and stuff that we heard during the show. The show is about, I want to say at least an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours. There's an intermission involved as well. So it's actually pretty impressive the amount of entertainment you get with Randy and Rob. And it's kind of almost like a nightclub kind of setting when you have Randy playing the piano and Rob just singing along, and it's pretty awesome. Anyway, here is a small sampling of what was played, about a 10-minute sample. So here we go.
Ooh, okay.
You're gonna have to learn to talk that variety speak. Don't talk makes producers walk. You might as well see green. You're gonna have to learn, or the meeting will adjourn. Last time, friends, you learn that variety speak. That sits on a planet now. And here is a ball full of oceans and some mountains, which is up there straight out of the essays. And living on a glass, and you know we are so big, tired of the rest. That's a great big universe, and we are in the universe. World's like a siren running, it's really like interplanetary system with everyone revolving around the sun. When Mercury beats and academics beats, and still the solar system's just begun. Now here and toward the stars, we find the planet Mars, which is over 50 million miles away. And orbiting Saturn, or Jupiter and Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, so we say all together. It's a great big universe, and everyone's a part of it, and no one knows where the end or start of it. We all live here together. It's our home forever. It's a small world. Playing down Spain, where we're several Apollo rays and purpose, and Apollo that we made. And another was beyond this phone. nothing but more. Constantly you and shanty to move with my living out and keep out. You're just no doubt of a guy like a chassis. Let's face it, I'm cute, oh baby, cute.
Ever seen a white whale?
Nowhere. No, you ain't seen no way. We are the dolphins and the big yellow tail.
We now see a good person's tree. Down around now, see Charles Dickens holding hands.
If you listen to this tune, then you probably can tell that it's heard it before. It's a song you know well. It's a song you know well, and we ruined it completely, so we all say, oh well, oh well. Yes, we just ruined the well. Merry Christmas and next year we'll try jingle Are we there yet? I'm hungry, I'm tired, how hard? It's not eating my body, I need the body, there's not a car. Stop it, you stop it, I'm comfortable to stop it, but he started it. Yeah, really, it's my sock. What? If we try it, we're going to get a sock. Yeah. Never mind. Well, I ain't not. Now they expected for a sign to be erected, say, they got what they wanted. I am a star, more a lot better. I was more than one. So my friends and his father really was with them. They got me. And for one while, and it was put there by my friends. After hands, she walked baby, walked back. Now we marching band along. We on the bus, so that every one of us could say that little bell.
That's pretty remarkable. Okay. Anda negro,
So that was the sample right there.
What more?
Yeah, sorry. You have to go see Animaniacs Live for more. But you can see that video clip. I'll post it up on our YouTube channel. We have a YouTube channel. We have to because it has to be up there. Animanicast. Yeah. I'll share it everywhere. Check out our Facebook and Twitter things, and you can probably find it there on YouTube as well. Animaniacs Live, YouTube.
Animanicast.
Sure.
Yeah. Something. Just keep typing words so something shows
random word, and then you'll eventually find it. There's not that many videos on YouTube.
There's not that many words on...
Yeah. So anyway, coming up next is a Q&A session they have. After they give everyone, if you're not interested in Q&A and you just want to go home and take care of your kids, you're free to do so. But for those people who want to ask a few questions, they gave an opportunity to ask them. So instead of kind of an encore, that was it. So, they sat down on some chairs, and some of the people in the audience got to ask some questions, including two of our listeners were there. Cameron and also one of our other listeners, Danielle from Oklahoma, got to ask a question as well. And speaking of listeners, right behind me, I gotta mention this.
Okay.
Your friends and our listeners, Dan and Jen, were sitting literally right behind me.
I saw the pictures.
Yes. They were tagging the Animanicast on Facebook, and they were just showing pictures of the back of my head as I'm enjoying the show. But got to say hi to Dan and Jen right there. They shook my hand and they had to introduce themselves. It was funny. So nice. So here's the Q&A session, or at least a few selected questions from the Q&A.
What's your name? Cameron.
Oh, hi, Cameron. I think you want to Twitter. Hello, Cameron.
If Yakko, Pinky, and Dr. Starch were real, what would you say to them?
I would say thank you for paying my mortgage. There's a great movie that I love movies. There's a great movie that I watched. It was made in the 40s called Prior to the 80s. It's about the life of Lou Gehrig, who ultimately passed away from a disease, from the eponymous disease that was named after him. He said, "See, Lou Gehrig disease." He said, "Why me? And there's a scene in the movie in which Lou says, he addresses that. And he says, "Some people think I would live in a horrible place, but I can tell you right now, the longest fan of the place here. With all the respect to Mr. Gehrig, I'm the longest fan of the place here." So that's what I would say to those people, because I got a chance to pay my bills with something I would do for free.
My name is Harry Paulsen. Back in the day, I was probably trading on top of stellar names.
Oh, are you D-A-U-L-S-G? P-O-U, okay.
I'm curious, with the rise in the industry for demanding and advertising celebrity voices, especially with the lab and on, I'm curious, I know you did the show, the podcast Talking To.
Yes.
And we did there was a documentary, I know that.
Right, John Maggio,
Yeah.
with his own money in that movie.
I'm just curious, has there been more of a push on your guys' part to recognize, your talents and your career instead of over?
Okay, I think your question is there pressure to, how do we deal with the influx of celebrity talent? Look, I'm a capitalist, and if you've got $500,000 and you want to get it to Brad Pitt to be the talking chicken in your animated movie, I get it.
And how to sell the movie.
Right, and I understand that there is and always will be a certain cachet to celebrity in Hollywood. That's just the way it is. I'm not going to change it. However, my job, and as we go with things like this, and you folks, and YouTube, and thank you for mentioning my podcast and all that, people are starting to take more notice. And my job is to raise my profile to the extent that perhaps someday I'm considered the same record as George Clooney or Brad or whoever to be in an animated Pixar feature. I believe I can compete with them talent-wise, but nobody recognizes it, so I understand why that happens.
That's a marketing decision.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you too, just my experience is, when you said they may do them, a lot of times they bring other people to fix it.
Mm-hmm. That's on ours, and a couple of things with some from Mel Gibson. I've been involved with at least 2 properties that I recall who have been both sides of the spectrum. I did, Jimmy Neutron was spun off of a feature, right? We did the Jimmy Neutron movie, The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, had no celebrities in the lead cast, made $100 million, got nominated for an Oscar, spun off 2 series, and became essentially a cultural relevant show. Then I did a movie called The Ant Quality, which had half a dozen Oscars in the maybe. It had, Alan Cumming, Paul Giamatti, just a number of Nicolas Cage, Julia Roberts. Yes, Julia. And a bunch of Oscars right in front. So one doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to make it a hit. It's really about the story, performance, execution, and look.
Yeah, but from an executive side, if you're an executive of the movie studio, no one ever got fired for hiring an studio.
You're sure with it too.
So maybe a restaurant, that's how it works.
Yeah, I'm just, the cool thing about my gig is A, nobody cares what I look like, but I can also be. We're greatest until I die. Yeah. And one of the great things about this very show that we're celebrating tonight is the fact that we've got an episode for 20 years, and we have a breadth of audience members from 7 or 8 years old to probably 60 or 70. And that speaks directly to the genius of Steven Spielberg, Tom Ruger, Gene McCurdy, who knew precisely what they were doing to not condescend to the audience. And we're here 20 years later going, oh my God.
You guys know what condescend means.
What's your name?
Daniel. This isn't really such a question, but a thank you to Mr. Rogel. You were talking about inspiration earlier, and you inspired me. I teach high school English, and I believe that songs help kids learn.
Good for you.
And so I actually parodied one of your songs, and
which children? What was the song you got? Which song?
Variety.
Oh, isn't that great?
And I try to keep all the time on this.
Oh, thank you. Variety needs an update, right? Well, I guess for one modern reference, I say Angelina Jolie is working for free. He's because he's the Oliver Stone doesn't make home alone. So I thank you very much.
That kind of stuff is the most wonderful compliment because it goes way beyond. It's not about ratings, it's not about money, it's not about action figures. It's a pure expression of appreciation for Randy's work, and that's what we do. It's true. I mean, this is.
Well, you know what? It's funny. We were just writing to crack ourselves up. I remember we got a call, and this little girl in Hollywood, in Los Angeles, I learned with Gene Curry, and they had.
She was the president of one of those at the time.
And they had 300 first graders who all learned Yakko's world.
Right.
So we went over there and they sang, it was utterly terrible, but it was so it was the greatest thing I actually, you know, really. Stand up, take your bell, I'll make you go.
Stand up.
The Animanicast. That's right. There it is.
Yes, I'm Joey. Nice to meet you.
You do the Animanicast podcast on iTunes.
Yes.
Thank you.
And we talk. Now I'm doing a plug.
Do it now. Go. It's for
Hi,
Animaniacs.
everybody.
Come on.
Yeah,
Please,
Okay, I'm doing Animaniacs podcast with my brother and my friend Kelly, and we talk about every episode of Animaniacs in the order that it was released. And we have Tom Ruger on every now and then, too. So.
Well, thank you very much.
I did have a question, not a plug, actually. The question was, let me sit back down. The question was, you now have a brand new job. It was just released here, the voice director for the new Ninja Turtle series that's being made. How did that come about, and how is that experience going?
Oh my goodness. Thank you very much for asking. For those who didn't know that I am 2 Ninja Turtles and 1 Ninja Turtle. And, well, the 5th season of the current Ninja Turtles, of which I've begun to tell with Sean Astin, Raphael, Seth Green is Leo, and Greg Sutton is Michelangelo. In January this year, the head of casting came up and said, "Hey, I'm not the director of the show." He said, "Hey, Rob, have you ever considered directing, and voice directing?" And I said, "No, not because I didn't want to, because it's hard enough to get work, and I've had good fortune to work with Andrea Romano and Gordon Hunt and all the best of the best, and the world's best." Right? They said, "Well, Tom Kennedy has been directing SpongeBob, who voices SpongeBob. He's been directing SpongeBob the last couple of years in terms of voice actors, and it's worked out well. Would you consider being a voice director on the upcoming iteration of Ninja Turtles for fall of next year, 2018? And I said, "Well, sure, I would love to do that." And they asked me. I thank you for asking, because I've always loved to have the opportunity to let other voice directors know, if it comes down, via online, that I'm not trying to snake their gig. But it has turned out to be a blast. And the new cast announcement was just made, I think Thursday. For the first time, we have 3 African American cast members, which I'm thrilled about, because it really is about diversity, trying to figure out new ways to bring everybody together. I think they also understand that people who go to conventions doesn't matter. It's about you being part of the tribe, whether you're black, white, green, orange, yellow. There are folks who are honest, whatever. So now Omar Miller, who is on the cast of Ballers, is Raphael. Brendan Michael Smith is Michelangelo. Josh Brenner from Silicon Valley is Donatello. And Ben Schwartz from Parks and Rec is Leonardo. And Kat Graham, for those of you who are fans of the vampire show. What? Vampire Diaries, yeah. Kat Graham is Leonardo. And so it's a blast to be able to get to direct these people, and they're so smart. And I gotta tell you, thank you very much for asking one quick thing, which was made me so proud, and also kind of got my attention to how new media and this new whole great new world of the Wild West of the internet works. The first day we recorded, all the actors, Leo, Raphael, and Mikey, all the actors came in, and I never had the pleasure of meeting some of them I've seen on their respective television shows, and they were very nice. "Hi, I'm Rob, I'll be directing." "Oh, thank you. And he said, "Oh, God, your job is so big." So, and they were great. They were doing it. As were we. To go And he said, and I'm quoting, but I won't quote out, I'll quote the first time. Holy. Do you know who this guy is? This guy is Pinky and Yakko and the Mask and Martha and Dick and Muddy Max and Carl and Pinky and Raphael and right away, all four of these young men, they got like. And they all came on and they started doing this. So it has turned out to be not only a blast, but there's this kind of cool full circle. We kind of go, oh my God, you tell us however you want us to do it. They're so sweet. And the new show is going to be 2D, a traditional, like the original Turtles 2D animation. And I'm telling you, there's just like every other iteration. It is a big deal to be part of the Ninja Turtles franchise. And the kids, I mean that, the kids relative to me who are making it are so excited. So if the show doesn't work, it won't be because they don't love doing it. It's an incredible joy for them. Laughter is best medicine. The cool thing is you can't go eat it, or you go start with it. So on that, thank you very much.
Hey, you guys, it's Rob Paulsen here. I am so thrilled that we have the Animanicast to continue to find a way to help me to get a frickin' job. Thank you for listening. Bye.
So we are now waiting in line to get some autographs from Mr. Rob Paulsen and Randy Rogel. And here's Jason.
Hi.
And here's my wife.
Hello.
And what did you guys think about the show?
I had a blast. It was so much fun, and they spent way too much time on the Q&A. They got kicked off the stage, so that was really great.
And honey, what about you?
I thought it was amazing. It was better than I even was expecting.
That's good. I saw you were enjoying yourself quite a bit, which I was very pleased with, because I was worried if you would like the show at all. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. So yeah, I'm gonna talk over here with one of our listeners if they would like to talk. Okay, everybody, this is Joey once again, and I'm here with
Danielle.
And Danielle is one of our listeners. She submitted it was kind of like an essay, right? It was a letter.
No, it was an essay.
It was an essay. It was an essay about Animaniacs, and of course, she cited us. She talked about us as well, which was very awesome. And you are here. Where are you here from again?
Oklahoma.
All the way from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
To see Animaniacs live.
Yes.
In Tucson.
Yes.
That is so awesome. So tell us the story. This, because I was hearing how all this happened, and it was crazy. How did you end up coming here to Tucson for Animaniacs Live?
Okay, well, so I tried to go for the first concert in California, but I actually got really sick and could not make that one. And then I always thought, I'm going to get better. I'm going to get better for the next two, like one in St. Paul, next one in, I think it was Pennsylvania or whatever. Couldn't make those. Well, then Arlington came along. And I'm like, oh my word, all my physical therapy's over. I can swing it and it'll be fine. And then that one got canceled. Mm-hmm. And then it got rescheduled. And my cousin's wedding was the date that it was rescheduled. And now I'm here. And I'm so excited. And it was great.
It was so great. I loved it. It was such a great show. Well, thank you so much for listening to the Animanicast. You're one of our first listeners, listening from right in the beginning. So thank you so much. There you go. I'm shaking your hand, ladies and gentlemen. This is the sound of a handshake.
Yes.
There you go. So, thank you again for being such a great listener.
Oh, well, thank you for being a great host. I love the Animanicast.
Yay! Okay. All right. So, there we go. So, cool. Really, the last thing that there was just to get our autographs, because if you purchase the VIP tickets, Rob and Randy actually do take the time to meet you and sign some autographs and things like that. I got a couple things signed. I got the soundtrack, the original soundtrack of Animaniacs signed,
all right.
Which was amazing and fantastic to get that signed finally. After, gosh, how many years just kind of sitting on the shelf, 20-something, 25 years, just kind of sitting around in the house. And the other thing I got signed was the Pinky and the Brain picture that Maurice LaMarche signed.
Oh, fun.
Because, Maurice was there at Phoenix Comic Con, but Rob wasn't able to be there because he was recovering from cancer treatments and everything. So I was finally able to kind of complete that autograph set right there too. So that was really awesome. And of course, make sure to talk to Rob and Randy right there and invite them on the show. Who knows? We might just see them someday. I think. No, not Sunday. Someday.
Again, sorry.
Jeez, Nathan. Okay, so anyway. So that was about it. So you missed it, Nathan.
There'll be another one, right?
There will be many others. They're the check your local listings, I guess. I don't know, but you know, we will tweet them out as they appear. You know, I know they have one coming up in the Los Angeles area in March. I believe
it's March,
and then I think I want to say in January or February they have one in New York as well. Ooh-hoo. So they're popping around, the place and all around the country. So if you keep your ears to the ground, folks, you will see them show up in your neighborhood, I'm sure. So, and it's definitely a show you don't want to miss. It's a lot of fun. And, Rob and Randy not only are incredibly talented, but they're also two of the nicest people that you'll ever meet. So now, Nathan,
okay,
before we go, tell us, who do we have on the show next week?
I believe Kelly will be on the show.
That's true. That's very true.
So we didn't have her this week. So
that's true.
I feel like,
we tried to get Kelly over here to Tucson.
I think she's still driving, but I don't know.
She couldn't make it in time.
At this point, she should just turn around.
Yeah, I agree. We're almost in the last few seconds.
But yeah, seriously, this will be.
But who else is going to be our special guest again next week?
Me.
You will be there as one special guest.
Okay, sorry. Wait, is it Tom Ruger?
That's right. Tom Ruger is back again.
Oh, I can't wait to hear what he says.
That's right. Well, he will have plenty to say and to share with us once again. Here's a little spoiler alert for everybody. We recorded it last night, and it was awesome because we got some more audio exclusives for the show, and you'll be able to hear some people auditioning for the parts of, let's see, Dr. Scratch and Sniff, and a few more.
Pinky in the Brain,
Yakko, a bunch of different auditions. Dot, and Minerva Mink, and Newt auditions.
Yeah,
they're all over the place.
All over, so
the Hip Hippos.
Yeah,
there was another one. There's like so many auditions.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy. And of course, some questions from the audience as well. So, we're continuing our fun Animaniacs discussion and all this stuff. So, anyway, to get in contact with Nathan, go to what, Nathan?
Twitter.
And where are you on Twitter?
I'm a Django FT. That's me.
All right. And Animanicast, we're Animanicast at retrozap.com. You can check out our archives over at animanicast.com. And that'll take you all the way over to retrozap.com, where you can not only see our stuff, but stuff from all of RetroZap's stuff. Like there's a 21 podcasts on the RetroZap network right now, which is
can't name them now anymore.
There's
too many.
I can't list them off the top of my head even if I tried right now. So, but I will name a couple right off the top of my head. Hey, Brews and Blasters, that's a great Star Wars one. Let's see, Techno Retro Dads, that's a great one. Animanicast, love those guys. Not really. Argcast for video games. They have the Deuce Cast of the Skywalking Through Neverland, and Starship Sabers and Scoundrels, just to name a few.
There's so many of them.
I'm leaving people out. Just go to retrozap.com and you'll see what I mean. Anyway, that'll wrap things up for tonight. So for Nathan and me, this is Joey saying good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
This podcast is not endorsed by Warner Brothers or Amblin Entertainment and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Animaniacs, the Warner Brothers logo, all names, pictures, and sounds of the Animaniacs characters or any other Animaniacs-related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Warner Brothers, Amblin Entertainment, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of the Animanicast unless otherwise indicated.
Hello, genius people! Yakko Warner here. The only show we listen to in the Water Tower is the Animanicast. I bet you can't guess why. Good night, everybody!